Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to cover chapters 5 through 7 in this discussion. So, right at the beginning of chapter 5, we learned that Queen Desire has an addiction to drugs. And, could this be a consequence of skill? I don't know. Does the skill make the people go mad? Is it just the drug she's taking that's making her go mad? Is she just an addict? So, also in chapter 5, we see Fitz really start to take on duties as an apprentice. And Chade has him perform different games. And, because of it, it is a fun chapter. And there's also this emphasis on, the ability to lie. And so one of the first significant tasks Chade has Fitz perform is stealing from Regal's room. And obviously this would be a terrifying situation to be in. Fitz doesn't really complain about it. He just does it. And I couldn't really tell what was happening here. He steals an item left by Lady Dahlia. And it did seem like, given the context, that there was maybe an attempt at an alliance with Regal and the Queen by Lady Dahlia. But I couldn't tell what the hell was going on. And then right after, we're given more of the scope of the world where there is a lot of unrest going on in the entire world, especially with the raiders at the sea. And soon after this, the king plays an incredibly cruel trick on Fitz. And this was a really good scene. So he tells Fitz, just steal this small thing from the king's room. Chade goes along with it. He plays the part well, to the point where I was second guessing whether he was serious or not. Fitz just freaks out, and Chade is furious at him, lashes out and runs him out of the room. Fitz is almost incapacitated with this paradox of being tasked by Chade, his master, to steal from the king. This idea that loyalty to the king is just in itself paradoxical. One day you might have really good favor and the attention of the king, and then the next day you're just locked up. So it just has the king takes on this more unpredictable, maybe mercurial attitude, and it's hard to know. And Fitz is incapacitated almost by the contradiction of what he's been asked to do, and has really twisted what they were doing. There's obviously unrest. There's obviously, duplicity at work in this kingdom right now. So it kind of made sense that maybe the king here really wants to know who is and isn't loyal to him. But it wrecks Fitz. He's basically just sick. He just stays in bed and he can't do anything. And another interesting point about Fitz here is, as he's sort of wrecked with this contradiction and he's just bedridden because he doesn't know what to do, we see that he's suffering, obviously, loneliness. But there was this additional component. He's now bereft of a purpose. And it felt like this assassin's apprenticeship has become really core really quickly to Fitz's identity. So it was almost like they stripped him of an identity here. So as we move into chapter 6, we see Fitz learning how to scribe. And he's indoors learning for the winter. He has this sudden onset to travel. This sudden desire to travel. The epic fantasy obviously loves its travel. Oftentimes epic fantasy feels like it's a part travel log. One of the things I think I like about the character Fitz so far is that his character isn't necessarily a genius. And by genius, I mean a fantasy genius. Where the person or the wizard is just good at everything, right? They're the most powerful, they're the smartest, they're the most honorable. Chade even alludes to something like this in one of the earlier chapters. I don't remember where it was, but it was something like, you're not the most clever, you're not the strongest. By not making the character just good at everything and just good at the things that they do, it often allows for their upbringing and the skills and knowledge that they do have to inform their personality and to show up in more interesting and novel ways in the scenes with other characters. So then there was this really interesting scene where Fitz wanders back down into Buckkeep Town and he has this reunion with Molly. And I wanted specifically to tie that in with this scene here with Molly. I thought this was a really good scene for both characters. Particularly though, it was a good scene for Fitz because we really get to see some of his new learning and with Chade, how it's affecting him in his relationships. But he's having this conversation with Molly and she's talking about all the stuff and the knowledge that she knows, right? She's making candles, she works in the chandlery, and he is getting excited and he starts telling her, oh, you know, the things that he knows. And specifically about this, I think it's a root. And she's talking about its use in candles. And then he brings out his knowledge. And it's, you know, oh, you can use that root to knock a grown man out or kill a baby. And it was just interesting, you know, how in this scene he's trying to admire her knowledge. But the knowledge that he divulges is so dark and so gloomy. And when he delivers this statement, he's like so nonchalant about it. Obviously this startles her. And then another interesting part of his personality that he's also learned from Chade is that he has been taught to lie. For when if he gets caught stealing, he needs an alibi, a convincing alibi. So then in order to sort of placate Molly, he then lies to her about how he knows this knowledge. And it was just an interesting way about how the character he's becoming, especially in relation to Molly. And then there was another little interesting part too about like he knows how to read and Molly sort of scoffs at this because she doesn't know how to read. So we also see this class difference emerging between these two. So at the end of chapter 6, we're hit with some dreadful tidings. They're being brought to the town. I think it goes without saying, there's going to be a lot of spoilers, but this is a pretty big spoiler. So if somehow you've got to this point and you haven't read it, maybe don't listen to this. We learned that chivalry is dead. And I felt really guilty. I felt really bad about this. We never really met the character. So I was surprised at how much it affected me. But at the same time, I felt guilty because like I had been critiquing this character in both of the last videos. So I just wanted to say, you know, formal apology, I'm sorry, chivalry. And this news is just all of a sudden made the story very exciting, very suspenseful, and it felt like big events are being set into motion. And yeah, I really felt this scene and I really wanted to keep reading, which I did. You know, you have this character who's the paragon of righteousness. In this world, he has been humiliatingly murked. And he didn't even get a heroic last stand. It's just, oh, he's dead. The world got considerably darker with this. But also, it almost felt like it was saying that in this world, this beacon of righteousness doesn't belong. Also, the other point made people like King Shrewd and the Queen seem that much more dangerous and that much more unpredictable. And then at the beginning of chapter 7, we learned that Queen Desire dies or died of drug use. And I don't know, I couldn't tell. It sounded like she dies later in the future, so I think she's still alive in this scene. And in response to Chivalry's death, Burek is obviously and naturally heartbroken. But we also see another side of Burek, where he cuts his hair as if mourning a king. And everybody sees this. This is extremely defiant behavior. And Regal has to send a guy down to reprimand him for this out-of-line, insolent behavior. And another little aside about Burek. So Fitz has this comment where he speculates that Burek thinks that Fitz may be slow in the head because he doesn't speak that much. Seriously, Burek. And then right after that, Fitz is given his first fixates fixedly on Frosty. So Fitz is going to be given his first mission, and he's also going to have this strange encounter with the Fool. Once again, he kind of just gives off this inscrutable portent, I guess, that he says, I think he mentions a dream. But Fitz is given his first mission, and at the end of chapter 7, that's where I stopped. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm actually probably going to go and keep reading right now. I want to see what happens. Later. Peace.